the British Sporting Art Trust was created in 1977 to increase the number of sporting pictures on view to the public. These pictures provide a colourful perspective to 3 centuries of sporting activities in the countryside and illustrate many things that are, in the very best sense, part of our heritage. In 1983, the National Horse Racing Museum opened at Newmarket, and Mr. Edmund Vestey's generosity enabled the British Sporting Art Trust to inaugurate its exhibition here in April 1986. Of the artists whose work we shall see, many were keen sportsmen themselves. One bred pointers, another had been a groom, one was a keen fisherman, one drove stagecoaches, another was an apprentice wheelwright. Not a few came from families of artists, and most had countryside connections. Others came from Europe to enjoy English patronage. And we begin with such a one. Peter Tillemans, born in Antwerp, came to England in 1708. This is his fox hunting in wooded country. Tillemans studied landscape painting and became friendly with the sporting artist John Wootton at Newmarket. They learnt from each other and probably collaborated on some pictures, a practice we shall hear more about. Faddle, a Spaniel, dated 1792. Here we see the mastery of George Stubbs, Britain's greatest animal portraitist. The spaniel was a general-purpose dog used to flush birds from the hedgerows which were planted after the Enclosures Acts. Inevitably, spaniels became popular family pets. The name, incidentally, derives from Español, revealing the breed's origins in Spain. Gimcrack with John Pratt up. Another magnificent Stubbs, set on Newmarket Heath about 1765. This was commissioned by Lord Bolingbroke, one of Stubbs's most important patrons. The portrait hangs in the Fitzwilliam Museum, Cambridge. We show it because the British Sporting Art Trust contributed substantially towards its purchase for the nation. Gimcrack won 27 out of his 35 races and was described by Lady Sarah Bunbury as the sweetest little horse that ever was. Richard Roper's The Match between Aaron and Driver says in its inscription, "Driver was rode by Thomas Arnold." The Chestnut won the first heat, the Bay Aaron the second, and here we see Driver winning the decider and the stake of 1,000 guineas for his owner. These 2-horse contests were a popular feature of the time and run off in one day. Brood Mares and Colts in a Landscape by Saury Gilpin and George Barrett. Gilpin, from Cumberland, often collaborated with artists who could do landscapes better than he, such as George Barrett, who was a founder member of the Royal Academy. Gilpin's first patron, the Duke of Cumberland, was breeder of the legendary Eclipse, and this picture is evidence of the growing interest in horse breeding. John Nost Sartorius, who worked extensively at Newmarket, painted this set of 4 pictures in 1804 or 5. They show the Earl of Darlington fox hunting in Raby Park and are titled Drawing Cover, Going to Cover, Full Cry, and The Death. The Earl hunted 6 days a week and kept spare changes of clothes in local country inns so that he could change before driving home for dinner. Jacques Laurent Agasse, born in Geneva, came to England in 1800 under the patronage of Lord Rivers, whose groom is shown here leading a chestnut hunter towards a coursing party. The fine 3/4 profile shows that Agasse really understood the anatomy of the horse. This study of Sir Charles Bunbury is by Ben Marshall, a schoolmaster turned painter. Sir Charles became perpetual president of the Jockey Club, and in fact his wife left him because of his preoccupation with the turf. Ben Marshall might well have had Sir Charles in mind when he said, "I discover many a man who will pay me 50 guineas for painting his horse, who thinks 10 guineas too much for painting his wife." Ben Marshall's portrait of James Belcher and his bull terrier dates from around 1803. Peerless Jem, as the boxer was known, was the former heavyweight champion of England and greatly admired as a prizefighter. This picture, which shows a combination of strength and dignity, probably tells us why. Ramletting from Robert Bakewell's breed is by Thomas Weaver, a self-taught artist who specialised in depicting pedigree farm stock. Robert Bakewell was one of England's most important breeders and leased his rams to fellow farmers for quite considerable fees. This all-male gathering includes many eminent figures of the day, although the picture was actually painted 15 years after Bakewell's death. James Barringer was an artist and a sportsman who bred pointers. His picture shows Jonathan Griffin, huntsman to the Earl of Derby's staghounds. The location is Banstead Downs, near the Oaks, the 12th Earl's hunting lodge which lent its name to the classic race. Here we see Sir Robert Leighton After Coursing by John Fernley, Sr. Fernley worked with his father, a master wheelwright, but one of his early hunting paintings was spotted by the Duke of Rutland, who financed his apprenticeship with Ben Marshall. All his life, Fernley charged 10 guineas for the portrait of a horse, 7 guineas for a cow, and 30 to 60 guineas for more complicated canvases. Here is a typical Fernley portrait painted in 1833 for 12 guineas. It shows the broodmare Defiance with her foal, which presumably added 2 guineas to the usual price. The foal is by Reveller, winner of the St. Leger in 1818.